Hey guys, welcome back to the Little Farm in the Forest, and I have a very exciting update for us today. I have kind of become a master. I wouldn't say a master, but I'm getting the hang of it, processing green loofah into sponges, and I'm finally getting the big sheets. So I started on some, and that's why there's kind of a mess in front of me, and then I realized I was supposed to update you guys. And so I did the oven method. So my loofah weren't able to dry on the vine because they were calling for a frost last week, and we didn't even get a frost. But now we might have snow coming Monday. So I think it's officially, season is over, winter is on the way, and I wanted to give an update on the loofah because this is going to be my big winter project. I picked 4 more today, so that's a total of 31 loofah because we picked 27 either last week or the week before. So now I have a bunch of sponges because I'm going to cut these to the size I want, sew them, and they're going to probably be Christmas gifts, maybe if we do a market next year, things like that. But I wanted to show you, basically what I did was I put them in the oven at 225 until they looked like this. And remember how I cut off the ends and then I scored them? Once you take them out of the oven and they're cool enough to handle, just find your little score mark, and it's like opening a letter, like an envelope. Just pop the rind right off. It just rolls right on out. This one I'm experimenting with. I was going to cut into the little rounds and see if I could get the seeds out. But I'll show you one that I didn't cut into rounds. So this was a little bit of a smaller loofah. Full disclaimer, if you don't like looking at like seed pods or things with like holes and things that may be slimy, you may just want to fast forward to the end. This is not the video for you. I, however, cannot get any more traumatized, so I am just powering through it. So just kind of find where it wants to lay, and then you're going to find like the little spine that's closest to how it wants to lay. And you're going to want to use a serrated bread knife for this. Once you get it opened, you can use shears if you want, if your sponge is a little drier, but I found that when the sponge is still kind of like wet, the shears weren't working as well. So we're just gonna cut this into the center. Now you don't wanna cut all the way through. You will know when you have cut where you need to be because the sponge will literally just open. I find the centers to be a little more dense. There's more seeds in the center, so you are going to be cutting through some seeds, so it might be a little hard in certain areas. Just go slowly until it literally opens. Okay, so the sponge opened, and I'm going to show you guys this again. It's going to look kind of gross. So now that the sponge is open, here's the back part. We have, I call these the spines, and it's like filleting a fish essentially. Like they look like little fish fillets. You're gonna cut just kind of the sides and then cut under. And like I said, if your sponge is drier, this is where you can use the shears if you don't feel comfortable using the knife. I'm just gonna continue to use the knife. So you're gonna run your knife along until you feel the side of your sponge pop open. So you're just kind of cutting the fibers from each other. And then do it on the same side if you need to. This one, I probably do need to a little bit. And again, you'll know because it'll kind of release from the center of the sponge. So you're not going to cut all the way through, just enough until basically you isolate this little center portion on one side. And then the sponge is going to want to like roll back. So just kind of bend it back until you see where you're going to cut along under it. And I find this is the easiest way because it removes so many seeds at once. You're not trying to like hand pick them out. You just have to be a little careful and don't slip, and also make sure you're not trimming off the edge of your sponge right here. And I have definitely lost a lot of loofah that way. So just pull this little spine as you cut. And once you kind of get going and you find those fibers, they just kind of pop right out. It's not a very long process. You just want to go kind of slow. There we go. And then when you do that, sometimes, oh my gosh, I can't get this one off. There we go. When you do that, sometimes, this isn't a very good example, but the seeds will be in the spine. Let me see. Oh, this is one I did earlier. So you can see where the seeds were all entrapped. But if you don't get a ton of the seeds out, once you get that little piece out, they just scrape right on out. Now, you guys can't see it, but I have a little bucket of water over here because I'm on limited water in our house, and my water is actually tanked in from an outside city. When I was like rinsing them to try to get the seeds out, I felt like I was just running water down the drain, and I wanted to be more mindful of that. So I do a rinse in the bucket, and then in the bathtub, I just wash them with like a gentle, I think like a Dove bar, like just a gentle unscented soap. I think I use the sensitive soap. So you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. You're gonna try to get this little spine out. Basically just the very edge of the seeds. You're gonna cut until that side of the sponge folds open. You're gonna fold it back a little bit just so you don't snag it. This side doesn't look like it really needs me to cut. I'm still gonna run my knife just a little bit just to make sure there's no weird fibers sticking, because I don't want to take off, I don't want it to rip or tear. And then I'm just going to run my knife alongside this little spine again. And if you ever get to grow these and you have to process them when they're green, full disclosure, they smell like potatoes when you bake them. It's weird. It does not smell like a squash when you bake them. So just run your knife along that little spine and all right. So there's the spine and all the seeds. It still has some pulp, so this one probably could have stayed in the oven a little longer, but I was worried I was burning it. And then, yeah. So you just scrape these seeds out, give them a pre-rinse, and then go wash them with soap. And then I hang mine out to dry if it's sunny on a clothesline, but I have dried them in front of a fan and it worked fine. So I recommend having a towel that, like a dirty, like a towel you don't care about. I use this one to like dye my hair and stuff, just so you can like wipe your hands off. And then once they're dry, you're still left with some of the center right here. And I found when I was trying to figure out, I have seeds all over me. When I was trying to figure out what size I wanted my sponges when I was folding them, I realized that this, these little excess fibers in the center were making the sponges a little puffy, and I was worried that if I was using them to like clean dishes and stuff, I wouldn't be able to get any like food bits out. So this is where your kitchen shears come in handy, and you can just take them and cut all the extra long fibers out, and then your sponge lays flatter. The reason I have been wanting to grow these is because they are a source of food. I have never actually ate one, and next year I am planning on eating like the younger ones to see how they taste and to see if I like them. But I wanted to see if I can make nesting pads for chickens or ducks or whatever we get next year if we get anything. And then I have 2 pet parakeets, and they can use these as little toys like for their beaks and to forage and rummage around in. And then it's also something I can clean dishes with, or counters, scrub bathtubs, whatever. You can use them obviously in the shower. They sell these in the cosmetic department at a lot of stores. And it's completely compostable. So then I can just shred it up and throw it in my compost pile whenever I feel like it's done and that it's time to get a new one. So this has been very, very exciting for me, and I hope you guys learned how to process loofah. Hopefully next year, maybe I'll get them to dry on the vine a little bit, so that way I can just cut off the end and shake the seeds out and not have to go through this like dehydrating process with the oven and then have to actually like scrub the seeds out, because when it's dry, the seeds just fall right out. But I'm very excited. If you follow us on Facebook, The Little Farm in the Forest, I will post pictures of the sponges as I make them. And the other, I did want to mention that I did see people, like when I was learning how to do this and I was watching multiple videos, they would go through like a bleaching process, and they would use like peroxide or bleach or vinegar to get these to look like whiter. This is a natural fiber. The tan color does not bother me. However, which this one's probably not a very good example. There is a little bit of variation in the coloration throughout the sponge, especially I think part of it was the oven. Like this side is much smaller than up here. So I kind of burnt it a little bit, so I'll just trim that off. But I do see, like, if I was going to give these as gifts or for our farmer's market next year, why it may look a little off-putting that they're tan. So I may do a like the peroxide or vinegar method, but I did find that hanging them on the clothesline in the sunshine to dry did help bleach them to a little bit more even of a color. It's something to keep in mind if you feel like looking at this tan is dirty. But I think most of them I'm just going to keep natural and as is because it doesn't bother me. So I will see you guys for the next video. I promise I'm working on a pantry chat. I know I'm a little behind. Some of you guys know we lost our beloved dog Lily last week. It's been a week today, and we've just kind of had to cope with that, I guess you could say. And it's just learning, you know, she's been by our side for 14 years, so it's learning how to sit in the silence of losing a pet. And I had to kind of just take a step back from videoing and kind of jot down my ideas and get through the week. But we're doing much better now, and thank you for everybody who has reached out. So I'll see you guys for the next video. Bye.